Hey everybody, I'm Brianna Lentz, and today we are doing another crochet kit review. This one is from Five Below, only costs $5. It is a cool crochet pouch, Stylish Strawberry. When I was at my local Five Below in April of 2025, I found two really cool crochet kits. They were both labeled cool crochet pouches. One is the Stylish Strawberry, which I'm doing today. The other one is Petal Power, which I will be reviewing in a future video. This little purse seemed really cute. It caught my eye, and I thought, you know what, for $5, that seems really reasonable for a crochet kit. Am I expecting the world? No. However, upon opening the kit, I was really happy. I was pleasantly surprised because there seems to be an ample amount of yarn. There seems to be an okay quality hook, and the directions seem to be really thorough. The picture quality is, I think I'm getting $5 worth of value out of it. It goes through each of the different instructions as to what single crochet is, how to set up my pattern, how to set up my work. So far, I'm impressed. But before I get further into the video, I will say I was impressed going into this kit. However, I think that this kit does provide more instructions, pictures, all of the things that a lot of kits do, especially higher priced kits. With that being said, I feel like some of these kits are so close to being right on the mark. Like they're so close to letting an actual beginner be able to achieve the goal. This one fell a little bit short when I found about, I think about two mistakes in the pattern. It also, it did not include stitch counts at the end of each row, which I feel like you can almost solve any crochet puzzle as long as you know how many stitches you're supposed to have at the end of the round or at the end of your row. And so I found myself struggling and struggling hard. And I'm a very experienced crocheter. I think that, yes, you can achieve what is on the box. I think that for $5, you're getting pretty okay yarn. You're getting an okay hook. I'm able to use the hook throughout this entire kit review. I'm using what is given to me in the kit. The only thing that I add is I add my own stitch marker because I am a huge stitch marker fan when knitting or crocheting. And number two, instead of using the plastic tapestry needle, I used my own metal tapestry needle, which was not necessary, but it's more comfortable, especially with acrylic yarn. But I found that the instructions were so close to being just enough to accomplish what is seen on the picture. But like I said, I feel like I wish that they had given me stitch counts at the end of each round or at the end of each row. Also, just to have been more clear or concise as to where to start my rounds. Because if I had known where to start some of these things specifically, I wouldn't have been guessing what they mean. I had to rely heavily on the pictures. Fortunately, that was super expanded in the packaging. But I had to rely heavily on the pictures to know where to start some of the rounds in my work. So for example, this green yarn, I could not figure out the right placement for it. The directions say to put in the middle of your treble crochets and then pull up a loop. Okay, I could not get the right number of stitches that I needed. And I would find out later when I was doing the next section of pink for the granny square. So I just had to figure out the best place to put my green on the top corner. I had to just kind of figure out where that meant. I probably redid this about 4 times for both of the granny squares that I did because I was just so unsure of where to start the green yarn. So I would completely do it and then I would undo it, or then I would add the pink and then I would undo both of them because there just was no clear instructions as to where this should go. I think that in my second granny square I had better placement, but to me the stitch count on the red part of the strawberry was off. by 1. And I clearly followed the instructions the way I thought that they wanted me to do it, because once I did the same instructions on the second granny square, I kept coming up with the same mistake. So anyway, so you do the green, and then you do the light pink portion of the granny square with the green of stem of the strawberry in front, which is fine. That's not hard. But the part that I found to be the most tricky was the first round. You have to have only 3 granny square clusters in the center of the strawberry, and then you have on the outsides of the green leaves of the strawberry, you have your corners. I did this over and over and over, and both of my strawberries, because like I said, I kept following them like what as to the directions, and I just could not get this correctly. And so I ended up just having to fudge it, because the great thing about crochet versus knitting, in my opinion, is you can totally fudge it, whereas like knitting, there's nowhere to hide, in my opinion. And that's just me. Somebody can probably strongly disagree with me, but that is my view. I love crochet because you can just kind of fib it. You're not going to have the cleanest work, but at the end of the day, it's going to look pretty good. Like, I feel like my pouch, it looks okay. It is not my best work. I'm not going to go parade this around town. I mean, I feel like I redid and redid and redid portions of this purse, and this was the literal best that I could get. And I feel like it looks similar to the finished product on the packaging. It's not as clean though, and I feel like had there been more clear and concise instructions, we could have achieved that, you know? But for the sake of space, a lot of times people don't add those little bit extra instructions, which would provide so much more clarity to the person trying to complete the project. Anyway, so I ended up having to just kind of fudge the corners a little bit. And like I said, I redid this quite a few times until I could get it fudged just enough. I don't think that the instructions gave the clearest thing, like the best way to do this on the first round of this light pink. And I think ultimately it has to do with the instructions from the dark red strawberry. And had they provided us the stitch counts, it would have made a big difference, because I just don't know. I don't know how many stitches I was supposed to have. And so I don't know where the mistake is. And so had they given me the stitch counts, I would have known on what round I made my mistake, and I could have fixed it. Now, this is completely user error, right? Like, I wish they told me how many chains or how many double crochets I'm supposed to have, because I think I have too many stitches, and I wasn't sure in the beginning. And so now, because I wasn't sure from the beginning if I had the right amount, I messed up all the way through. Oh man. So that's, first of all, okay, so this should be chain 2. But also, I wish that they gave me how many stitches we were supposed to have at the end of each round. Like this says 12 stitches total at round 1. I wish that they had continued that for the strawberry portion, because I feel like that would have mitigated what's happening right now. All right, so I'm going to rip this out. I'm going to figure this out, and then I'll meet you back here. And because otherwise, I mean, this all makes sense for the round 6. So let me fix this. It still doesn't look completely right, but I have 3 double crochet clusters around, so I'm just going to call it good and move on to round 6. Wish me luck. All right, so this is what it looks like now. It is not perfect, but this is as good as this one's going to get. So round 6 is done. So now we're going to go to round 7. And then now that you've made one, I get to try to make another one. So I'm going to do this off camera, and hopefully everything works good. I completed the second strawberry, and the placement of the green yarn looks a little bit better. But again, it was just trial and error. And then, so I have 2 completed granny squares. Then the next step after crocheting your strawberry granny square is that you need to embroider the little V's on there, which it doesn't give you any instructions on how to do that. You're just supposed to embroider it on there. Now, it does say that there's a video tutorial that you can follow. I forgot to mention that earlier, and I forgot that existed. So I don't know. It could show you how to do it in the video tutorial. I'm not sure. Maybe in the video tutorial it will give you stitch counts, but again, I don't know. So I just decided to, because at this point I was like, this isn't my best work anyway, I just decided to tie my yarn on and then embroider the best I can and give it, as long as it looked like a strawberry, like I was happy. At this point, I think it came out okay. My 7, almost 8-year-old daughter thinks it's great, just the way that it is. So this is the best that my strawberries look with the instructions that I was given. So now that both of my strawberry granny squares are completed, the next thing that the instructions tell you to do is to make the handle. And so I did do that. I made the handle per the instructions in the booklet, except instead of making it like a bag that my daughter will put over her shoulder, we agreed that it might be better for this size bag to just have it be like a little handbag. And so that's the size that I made, was for her to just have it as a handbag. And then the second thing that I did differently for this pattern is that it will want you to create a whole nother strip and then sew the strip on to your purse to give the purse width. I chose not to do that. So as you can see in my video, I chose to have my granny squares facing each other, right sides facing each other. And then I decided to go into the corner, pull up chain 1, and then single crochet all the way around, putting 2 single crochets in the corner for extra sturdiness. And that's how I decided to sew my granny squares together. And then I just sewed my handle on with the excess length of tail that I had, and I feel like it's very secure. So that about does it for today's video. If you want a number out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it a 3. I think that they definitely give you everything that they said and marketed that they would on the box, on the packaging for $5. I feel like it's fair. Was it user error? Is that why my strawberry just doesn't look great? Maybe. So yeah, I think that it's worth trying for $5 from Five Below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in my next project and in my next video. Bye.